If your faith is real, but your life's messy, this is for you. I'm Cece, and you're listening to Savage Jesus. This is for people who love God, but are tired of performing. We talk trauma, addiction, shame, anger, and what real discipleship looks like. Savage Jesus, for the wrecked, the raw, and the rising. Today I'm joined by Steven McCormick. Steven is a father of 5, a distribution supervisor at a Fortune 300 company where he's worked for nearly 2 decades, and someone whose faith has been shaped through some very difficult seasons of life. Steven describes his faith journey as anything but perfect. Like many of us, it began with bumps and struggles, but it deepened as real life began to test it. Part of Steven's story involved years of wrestling with alcohol, moments where he made promises to God in desperation, and the complicated reality that all of us face in falling back into habits, even after experiencing moments of grace. His life took another dramatic turn when his wife was involved in a serious hit-and-run accident. In that moment, standing at the crash scene and fearing the worst, Steven again found himself crying to God. Today we're going to talk about how faith isn't just tidy and clean, the tension between guilt and grace, addiction, forgiveness, and what it looks like to keep walking with God honestly, even when your life has gone back and forth more than once. Steven, I'm really glad that you're able to join me today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Steven, before we get into your story, tell me a little bit about your life today. What does a normal week look like for you?
A normal week for me, well, my week actually starts different from everybody else's. I work Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I work the weekend shift. It's normally probably from just like 12 to 14 hours a day. And then after that, in the mornings on Monday morning, take the kids to school, uh, go work out, go lift some weights, and come home, get a good breakfast, and then relax until the kids get off. Clean the house before the wife gets home from work, and then go from there. I do that Tuesday through Friday. It's a normal day. Normal day for me is working out.
Yeah, that's awesome, but also pretty hectic. So you're raising 5 kids while working quite a demanding job and schedule. What keeps you grounded in the middle of all of that?
Honestly, what keeps me grounded is it's the Lord. You know what I mean? The Lord
Yeah,
keeps me grounded. With my wife. She is a big believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, and I do everything for my children and for my wife. So those right there, that keeps me grounded. When I think I'm having a bad day, I just
yeah.
look at what I have, and it's like, you know what? The Lord blessed me with this. I got to keep it going.
Yeah, that's so beautiful to hear. So just going back into your early faith journey, and you've described that as quite bumpy. What do you mean by that?
Man, I don't know how far you wanna go back. If you wanna go back, we can go way back if you want to.
Just whatever you're comfortable with.
Oh, well, after graduating high school, a typical teenager, almost a young adult, I got into the party life. I wasn't going to college yet. If I did go to college, I started for a little bit, then I figured it wasn't for me, so I joined
Yeah,
the work trade. And
yeah,
then, it's like all the partying and drinking and doing stuff I wouldn't shouldn't supposed to be doing. But it's like, yeah, it took me down the wrong path, and it took me down a wrong path for a long time. And I tell you,
yeah,
it was a bumpy road. Yes, it was.
yeah. So growing up, what did faith look like for you before it all started getting complicated?
Oh, growing up, we were in church every Sunday. We were in,
Yeah,
I think they call it now CCE class as students.
yeah,
I was doing that on Wednesdays, church on Sunday mornings, church on Sunday nights. Doing that with my parents. Yeah, doing that, playing sports out in the
mm,
pasture, all that good stuff. That's about it.
yeah. So you've also been very honest about your struggle with alcohol at the start. When did that really become an issue in your life? When did you realize that that was a problem?
When I found out it was a problem for me, I was in my early 20s, I was actually at a bar one night, and then, I ended up leaving the bar, and I was in no way, shape, or form. I shouldn't have been behind the wheel.
Yeah,
I ended up getting in the wheel, got on 25th Street in Waco, and
yeah,
I blacked out, hit two telephone poles and a tree, and I woke up with the motor halfway on my side, so I
Wow.
had to been going pretty fast, and yeah, I shouldn't have made it out of that.
Yeah. So, what happened in that moment? Did you then figure for yourself that, hey, I need to really, start thinking about my decisions? Or was that not something still at that point that you were reckoning with?
Well, while I was in the hospital, yeah, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I need to quit drinking," you know what I
Mm.
mean? And after I got better, like a month later, I got better, and I was like, it was right back to in the bars drinking again,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it was like it was a problem, and I actually found out it was a problem for myself. Now I wouldn't call myself an alcoholic, but then again, some people would, because I was out in the bars, out in the clubs, and it's like, what am I doing with my life? Because 'Cause I'm over here going to clubs. I got a job just to buy beer, you know what I mean?
Mm.
Buy beer and go out clubbing and to the parties and all that. I didn't have nothing to call my own. I was jumping house to house, staying on people's couches. It's like, at one point, when am I gonna wake up and say, "Enough's enough?" And, yeah, and that was a big reality check, and I think after I met my fiance, well, my wife now, um,
Yeah.
after I met her, she basically gave me an ultimatum. It's either we're partying or you're gonna be with me, and, she's
Mm.
always been a woman of Christ, so, it wasn't too hard to pick that one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually quite interesting because I'm just thinking about the journey that my own husband's had, and it's very similar to yours. But
Mhm.
I think often a lot of people misunderstand how addiction, particularly alcohol and drugs, can slowly take hold because we think that you start it and then the next minute you're just in it completely 100%. And then, if you can't stop, then there's a problem. But then there's all those different layers and complexities that happen when you're trying to get out of it because you're wrestling with a lot of thoughts as well. So, what do you think people misunderstand most about that?
Honestly, I think what they think it is taking them away from something that they're running away from. You know,
Mm,
they're enjoying this high or this drunkenness because it takes away that problem for that moment. What they're not realizing is what I just said. It's only for that day. When you wake up, you're gonna feel like crap. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah,
you're gonna have to face those problems the next day.
yeah,
And I think what it is for people who continue doing it every day is like, if I continue doing this, then I don't have to face these problems.
yeah.
And that's where they're wrong because eventually it's gonna catch up to you and it's gonna get you.
Yeah. So, what did that season when you were wrestling with your addiction, what did that look like emotionally and particularly spiritually for you?
Oh, well, what it looked like was, it was like I'm battling my own demons, you know what I mean? I was, I don't know, how do you say, I didn't like trouble, drama. I like being by myself sometimes, and it was like I always wanted to be by myself because, like, if I'm going through an issue, I want nobody to know about it. Because if somebody knows about my issues, they're gonna look down upon me, like, or Imma
Yeah,
think they're looking at me, and then what that does, get me in depression mode, and then what am I gonna do? I'm gonna go back drinking,
yeah,
just to numb the feeling away. And, when I was sat down one day and was talking to my couple of my cousins, and I said, "You know what? I'm tired of this." I said, "If he's real, he needs to get me through it." You know what I mean? And talking about God. And,
yeah,
my cousin said, "Well, you need to come to my church." I went to his church, and, like, right there and then, right when I walked in, I got chill bumps. And
yeah,
that same day I went in, I got saved, and,
yeah,
it felt good for a while. You know what I mean?
yeah. So we'll get a little bit more deeper into where your journey with your faith is. I know we talked about a moment when your wife was pregnant and the doctors couldn't find the heartbeat for your daughter.
Yes.
And in that moment, you made a promise to God. Can you tell me a little bit more about that moment?
Oh, man, where do I start here, man? Like, it's a regular day going to,
Yeah,
to check on our daughter, you know what I mean? Because we didn't know we were pregnant until we were like 4.5, 5 months pregnant, you
right.
know? So, we found out late. But anyway, um, we were at the doctor's office at the OBGYN's, and,
Yeah,
it was a routine checkup. And, we sat down, and, the doctor got a stethoscope, whatever. He was listening for the baby all around her stomach. And it was just like, you seen a look on his face. like
Mm,
something's not right. And so he said, "Hey, oh, I'm gonna send you across the street to the hospital. It's just normal protocol." So it was like, okay, sure, normal protocol. Tell my wife, don't worry about it. We get there, you see nothing but nurses and doctors waiting for us at the door, and
yeah.
they put a gown on her, and that's when we found out we don't hear her heartbeat. The baby's not
Mm,
moving, not breathing, and right there and then it was like, what are we gonna do about it? And then all I know, we're in this room, and the doctors have my wife sign a waiver, basically saying, we had to choose, who are you choosing, yourself or the baby? And
yeah.
right there and then, I lost it. I got kicked out of the room. You know what I mean? And I dropped to my knees. I made some phone calls, reached out to some friends and said, "Hey, I need you to get all your prayer warriors. I need prayers for my wife." And then, like, as I was on my knees, I looked up. I said, "Lord," I said, "if you get both of my family members out of this," I said, "I promise I'll do whatever you want. I'll stop doing what I have to do. I'll stop doing what I'm doing." I said, "Then I'm all yours." And
Yeah.
sure enough, man, he came through, and luckily they both made it out.
Yeah. At that moment, did you feel any guilt that you were sort of, maybe being punished for your past whatever decisions?
Uh, at that time, no, because I was in shock. But after everything was said and done, I sat down, and I was in the garage, and I was actually drinking a beer, and I
Mm,
started thinking, it's like, maybe he's punishing me, or maybe this is his way of waking me up and telling me, "Hey, I can give
yeah.
it and I can take it away."
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so excuse my language, but get your crap together,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you're gonna have punishments.
Yeah.
And so right there, I stopped for a while. I put the alcohol down. I didn't drink a lick for a while, and
Yeah.
then
Yeah. But do you still feel that? Do you still feel that you might be punished because, if you do something, because I know a lot of us kind of have that feeling, or a lot of Christians have that thinking that, as, if we don't live a certain lifestyle, then God will punish us. And, and then we go down the rabbit hole where we constantly think he's a punishing or a vengeful God who's just out to get you and to show you that you need to get your crap together. But do you still feel that way, or have you kind of come to terms that he is a loving God, and he does discipline us with love, not to punish us just because he can?
yeah, most definitely. You know what I mean. I used to think, what, he's going to punish me for my sins, but then again, if you're in the Bible, you know, he died for our sins. You know what I mean. He's going to walk through that path. Like in the Bible, it says he left the 99 to go get the one. I was that one. He went to go
Yeah,
get, and
yeah,
nobody's perfect. Nobody, and if you show me somebody who's perfect, I can show you somebody who's full of, you know what I mean.
yeah.
So excuse my language,
Don't worry. Yeah,
but I used to think that way. I was like, "Man, if I do something wrong, he's gonna punish me for it." But then as I started getting more into the word and started thinking more and more, and it's like, "No, he's not gonna punish me that way. He died for my sins, and he forgives me. He loves me. I just
yeah.
need to learn to stop screwing up."
Yep,
So
yep. So,
so yeah.
what did it mean for you in that moment, knowing that both your wife and your daughter survived? And what did that mean for you as a husband and father in that whole situation, just emotionally?
But emotionally, man, I don't even know how to explain it, you know what I mean? To just, when the doctor told me, "Hey, they're both coming out alive." It
Mm,
was like, "Thank you, Lord." Like, I felt relieved when they said you got a monkey on your back or whatever, like, and my
yeah,
shoulders were light. I felt good, like, chill bumps everywhere. I wanted to scream, jump for joy, because,
yeah,
like, not only I'm not gonna lose my wife, but I'm also fixing to bring a baby girl into this world. And,
yeah,
it's like, you know what? Yeah, it's time to wake up. It's time to get my stuff together, because
yeah. Yeah. So I know you told us a little bit earlier that, after that experience, you eventually returned back to drinking. And that's something people feel really ashamed to admit. And I think the key to this conversation is for people to sort of understand that this is normal, and all of us walk differently with our relationship with God. We all have our messy bits. But what was that struggle like for you, in terms of guilt and, people struggling to admit that I'm going back to something that I made a promise to God that I wouldn't do.
Yeah, I felt guilty for a little bit, and then, I stopped for a little bit, and then my wife would give me that look like, "What are you doing? You promised God you
Right.
wouldn't wanna drink, you're going back on your word." And then it's like, "Well, babe, I had a hard day at work. It's
Yeah.
stressful," you know what I mean? So, everybody's entitled to socialize, drink, or have a
Yeah.
couple beers, right? Well, at first it started out being social, drinking like every 3, 4 beers a day, and then 3, 4 turned to 8, and 8 turned to 12, and then it's
Yeah.
like, next thing you know, I'm going through half a case already. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, this has started becoming an issue again. So,
Mm.
I made a promise to my wife. It's not all that hype that it seems to be, because like you drink and then you wake up, you feel like crud, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh yeah. So yeah, yeah, well, that was me for a while. I was drinking for a couple years again.
Yeah. But what did that experience and, your wife's discussions and your walk with God, did that help you understand grace differently? Did you start viewing God differently or understanding him deeper at that point?
Most definitely, because after he basically saved my baby in my wife's womb, it made me get deeper into the word. It made me start taking him serious. And I started watching church online since I work on the weekend. So I started watching church online every day. And on the weekends that I can take off, I'm there at church. I'm in the front.
Yeah.
I'm down on my knees praising him. And every like for a while, me and my wife was actually reading the Bible to me and just explaining everything in the Bible. So
Yeah.
it's like I got a better perspective of him, and I tell you what, I'm not looking back.
Yeah. That's I mean, that's in a very interesting perspective because often people think that if you're committing sin, drinking or whatever, then you can't have that relationship and God's not going to speak to you or he's not going to reveal himself to you. Did you feel that at all? Or did you have the opposite where it was like, you can get deeper because I guess you're more hungry for who he is and for what he has to offer?
Yeah, I did feel that way. I did feel guilty, but as you
Yeah.
read in the Bible, and then this one part in the Bible, he showed up to a party,
Yeah.
and they ran out of wine, so he turned
Yeah.
water into wine for a celebration. So,
Yeah.
and, everybody's entitled, so probably a little sip every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, we agree with that entirely. So, just going into the next part of your journey, and you say that your wife was involved in a serious accident, and you
So,
arrived at that crash scene. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
yeah, so this is where, I guess you could say I contradicted myself. So it's a normal Saturday, November 16th, you know what I mean? It was the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, fight. I don't know if I can say that on here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
Just
it was the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. And, my son just wanted to just so happened, he said, "Hey, dad, can we put the 20-foot screen outside?" I was like,
Mm,
"Okay." So it was a normal day. I bought some beer, bought my son drinks, like some soda water and all that. My barbecuing outside, had some buddies come over, my next door neighbor come over, and we're watching the whole fight from the beginning till the Jake Paul fight.
mm,
And, my wife calls. I said, "Hey, what are you doing?" She said, "Hey, babe, I'm off work." I said, "All right, we're in the front yard. Don't run us over when you get home, because 'cause we're in the driveway." And
yeah,
she laughed and said, "Okay." She said, "Well, I'll see you in a little bit." Well, where she's at from her job to my house takes probably 25, 30 minutes. So we hang up, and then not even 5 minutes later, uh, I thought my wife was calling, but it was my SUV calling, and all you could
yeah,
hear is screaming in the background.
yeah,
I'm like, "Hello?" Like, I'm yelling, "Hello, hello, can you hear me?" And then all you could hear is two men in the background said, get her out. The truck, the vehicle's on fire. Pull
yeah,
her out." She's like, "I can't. Seatbelt stuck." And so they cut the seatbelt off her. They pulled her out, and you hear somebody say, "Hey, this is her husband." I said, "Yeah." She said, "I can hear you." He's like, "Your wife is in an accident."
mm,
Right when he said that, I dropped everything I was doing, and I shouldn't have been driving because I was drinking.
yeah,
But from my house to where she was at, like I said, it takes 25 to 30 minutes. It took me
yeah,
15 minutes to get there because I hit every bit of 110 miles per hour all the way there.
yeah,
And so when I get to the crash site, I get there, I jump out the truck, and like the firefighter, one of the firemen came up to me. So I said, "Hey, where's my wife?" And the words he says to me dropped my stomach, shattered my
Mm.
heart. Like, she's gone.
Yeah.
I'm like, "What do you mean she's gone?" And he's like, "Yeah, she's gone." And then the police officer came behind and says, "No, no, 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 Mr. McCormick, are you Mr. McCormick?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
Your wife isn't gone." And he's like, she's gone to the hospital." And so,
Wow.
oh my God, that was the biggest relief of my life.
Yeah.
Police officer actually jumped on the fireman and told him, "Hey, you need to choose your words better."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I get to the hospital, and after I get to the hospital, I'm telling the Lord, please, let her come through this, get her through this, get to the hospital. They won't let me to the back because she was unconscious.
Mm.
And so I'm over here arguing with the front desk, and they finally let me back there. Broke her arm in 3 spots. She had a major concussion, broke some ribs, and she had serious nerve damage in her left arm. So
Right.
right there and then, I was like, man, what am I doing? Why am I drunk and my wife needs me? And like after that, like from 2024 to now, I devoted myself like, you know what? That's gone. That's gone. So it's been 2 years. And
Yeah.
I can tell you, I'm not sober sober. I drink one or two every now and then, but it's no more 12 packs. It's no more 6 packs. It's no more 18 packs. It's one or two every other day. I'm too busy
Yeah.
in the gym now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I gotta keep my body fit. You know what I mean?
Whatever you need to do. I think just going back a little bit, did you ever feel anger toward God at any point?
Well, yes, I was very angry. I was like,
Yeah.
this woman right here, she devotes herself to you, but yet you let this happen to her.
Yeah.
She is a daughter of Christ who gave up everything in her life and devoted it to you. That's the way
Yeah.
I was thinking. And he put you in a situation to get you through a situation. And it was crazy because found out the driver was drunk,
Mm.
and I couldn't get mad at him because I was a drunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But my wife forgave him just like that. She said, "It's
Yeah.
okay. Even though he hit me and he ran, he fled the scene, he left me for dead." She said, "I forgive him."
Yeah.
I was like, "I don't." I said, "I just want to see this. I want to see this sucker so I can give him a piece of my
Yeah.
mind."
Yeah.
But how can you be mad at somebody when you're doing the same thing?
Yeah.
Tell you right there, set it off. And it's like, yeah, he's up for court or whatever. And I forgave him. I forgave him like a year ago. And
Yeah.
you know, he's the only one that can judge somebody's life. He's the only one who can he's the only one that can condemn somebody. If he doesn't, he doesn't. As long as my wife is here and she's breathing, yes, she has nerve damage, but she's breathing, she's alive. Because he could have
Yeah.
took her away from me. He could have took her and been like, "Hey, it's time for her to come home. I want my
Yeah.
daughter." And he didn't. And it woke me up. I was like, "Man, maybe she got hurt because of me, because I
Mm.
promise you I'm gonna change my ways, but yet I'm not."
Mm.
So right there and then, my ways changed. November 16th, 2024,
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. I mean, it's quite an interesting story, and it's quite, I don't know the word. I think it's quite gut-wrenching when you think of the level of, emotions and trauma and everything that's gone through. And you talk about forgiveness, and that is very, very complicated, especially when alcohol and accidents are part of the story. How did you learn to think about forgiveness before you got to a year later, or a year ago, to be able to forgive this person?
Well, I did it. I wanted justice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted justice. I'm like, I'm praying to God that he gets 20 years in prison, or I wanted the worst to happen to him. And I was like, I'm a hypocrite. You know what I mean? Because I'm doing the same thing. What if I hit somebody I didn't drink
Yeah.
and drive, but what if I hit somebody when I was drunk? Would I want that same punishment? And it was a
Mm.
mistake. And it's like, it was hard because, again, like I said, I was being a hypocrite because I was like,
Yeah.
how can I say I can't forgive him, but I'm doing the same thing? And it sounds like I'm repeating myself, but then as I get deeper and deeper into the word, and then
Mm.
deeper and deeper into church and into Christ, it's like nobody's perfect. He made a stupid mistake.
Yeah.
He got behind the wheel when he should have just called an Uber, called a
Yeah.
Lyft. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, like, my hands are clean. It's like, you know what? I'm not your judge. Your judge is hey, that's the only judge up there.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah.
had a lot of hatred for a while.
Yeah.
So,
So does forgiveness do you, in your mind, did it happen instantly or does it happen instantly or was it something that took a process and just unfolded over time?
it was a process. Like I said, it
Yeah.
it, it was a whole year.
Yeah.
Because we're talking to lawyers and we're talking like there's like 2, 3 lawyers involved for us or whatever, and we're talking to them. And like I said, at first I'm like, I want the max. I want the max sentence. Like he put me in debt, because like we
Yeah.
only had like $4,000 left to pay off my vehicle. And
Yeah.
$4,000 off of a $60,000 vehicle, that's all I had left. And then for him to total that car and for me having to get another one and getting right back in debt, right where I was almost out
Mm,
of, and it's like, you know what? At the time, I was like, you know what? I want the world. You're gonna pay me
yeah.
everything. And then it's like one day I woke up and I was reading the Bible when I got up, and I was like, no, like like I said earlier, who am I to judge someone?
Yeah.
And then right there, and then I told my wife, I said, I forgive them.
Yeah.
She's like, "What are you talking about?" Because she's already forgot about it. She left it alone. She's not worried about it.
Yeah.
And I said, I forgive him." She's
Yeah.
like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I forgive the guy that hit you."
Yeah.
She's like, "Just now, it's been over a year." I was like, "Yeah," because
Yeah.
as a man, you're not as a man, the head of the household,
Yeah.
you're not gonna show the way your emotions to your wife or
Yeah.
to your kids.
Yeah.
And I felt very vulnerable, and I told her, and she
Mhm.
made a joke out of it, but she understood where I was coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you still have triggers though? When you think when you're dealing with the courts and when, let's say the sentencing is coming up or whatever, whenever that happens, do you have triggers when you replay those moments in your head and when you're talking about it?
Triggers now, no, but when we found out his court hearing and I made a comment to the lawyer, I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'll be there." And then I said, "I just need 5 minutes in a room with him." It
Yeah.
triggered me because like she brought it up because that's what lawyers do because you have to talk about the case. And she said, "Well, that's a threat. So now since you told me that, I have to have a sheriff and myself sit next to you so you don't
Right.
jump over
Yeah.
the chairs or whatever." And so after that, it's like, you know what? That's stupid. Well, why would you do that?
Mm.
Because now not only are you acting like an idiot, now you're gonna put more stress on your wife because now you're in jail. Now she has to figure out a way to get you out of jail.
Yeah.
So it's like all this is doing is putting more stress on my wife than there should be.
Mm.
Now we found out his court hearing. He said, just call us, let us know what happened. We're not worried about it. And they said, well, what if you have to go? If we have to go, that's when we'll face it then. But
Yeah.
now, like he's going. Yeah, if we don't have to be there, just give us a call when it's over and let us know the verdict.
Yeah.
And then we'll go from there. Tell them we forgive them and just let us know what happens.
Yeah. Ah, that's quite yeah, that's quite deep. How did all of these experiences affect your perception of life itself? So not just, the life with God, but just life in general.
Honestly, life in general, when you're young, you're dumb. You think the world's in the palm of your hand. You're young, dumb, you're young and
Yep.
stupid. But looking back, would I change everything? Not everything. I wouldn't change everything, you know what I mean? But I would change the drinking part, because life's precious. You're here right now. What's to say where you gonna be at tomorrow?
Mm, mm,
Where are you gonna be at after you close your eyes and go to bed? Are you gonna
yeah,
wake up? So every morning I wake up, I thank the Lord for waking me up and thanking the Lord for my family He's provided for me. I
yeah,
thank Him for the birds and the bees. I thank Him for the wind. I thank Him for
yeah,
letting me see daylight. I am
yeah,
so grateful now. Before I didn't care. Now it's like every time I wake up, it's like, get that good stretch in. Thank you,
yeah,
Lord. Just take a deep breath and like, I'm gonna wait for another day. Let's get it.
yeah,
I don't take nothing for granted no more.
yeah. So you've said before that you're not perfect and still struggle sometimes, and we all are. We all are imperfect and we all struggle. What do you understand about faith now compared to when you were younger and, going to church twice on a Sunday and going to Bible study and all of those things? What does faith look like to you now compared to then?
Well, what it looks to me now, see that guy right there?
Yeah.
You see that big smile on his face, Um, faith is everything. We instill it in our children.
Mm,
Each one of my kids, they have a Bible next to their bed. My
yeah.
girls, even though they don't live inside the house, at their own places, they have a Bible on their nightstand. But faith is precious, and it's like I don't know how to explain it because without him, you're miserable. And I'm
Mm,
not saying it for everybody, but for me and my household and our family motto in the house is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
yeah.
Because if you look back in my past and you look at now, he's the one that gave me the strength to surpass all my trials and tribulations, you
Yeah.
know. So so every time it's like and like I said, I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
By far
None of
am I
us.
perfect.
Yeah, none of us are. And yeah, and I really am glad that you said that because often we think as Christians that we are just because he
Yeah.
bought us with a price and we think we're better than, people that are not Christians. And we
No.
forget that we're human and we're self-Lord.
Hey, I'm just like you. When I put my pants on, I put one leg at a time. So, like I am by far, I am not better than anybody. In
Yeah.
my kids' eyes, I'm Superman. You know what I mean? But like a regular Joe, I'm just a normal regular human. So
Yeah.
I have my flaws.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We
most
we all
definitely.
do. Yeah, we all do. What do you think God was teaching you through all the seasons right until now, from the time you were a kid to now? What do you think that some of the biggest lessons that God was teaching you?
He was telling me honestly, if I could be blunt, it's like I was sitting down the other day and I was thinking about how I used to be back in the day, and I could hear it in his head. Not he wasn't cussing, but he said, "Get your crap together. I could easily put you back to where you
Yeah.
came." And I tell you, it's amazing. From if I knew then what I know now, life probably would be totally different. But then again, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have my kids.
Yeah.
So so yeah, it was again, nobody's perfect, so it was a wild ride, but, I'm here for the long run now.
Yeah. And what surprised you most about yourself during all these experiences?
But honestly, my confidence, I used to think I was
Mm,
a nobody, you know what I mean? And now that I have my children and now that I'm a child of God, I am a somebody. Like,
yeah.
all the drinking, depression, and stress because I'm thinking I'm a nobody and trying to hang
Mm,
around people just because they know a lot of people and all this, trying to stand out. Now it's like, you know what? I'm like, I got my babies. I got my 4 girls. I
yeah.
got my son. Got my wife. I already put 2 of my kids through, high school. One of my daughters already graduated college. She's doing her career.
Yeah.
Our other daughter, she has 3 more years of college, and she's gonna be a nurse. She's
Yeah.
gonna be, what do you call the cancer nurses?
Oncology nurses.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
So she
Yeah.
got 3 more years, and then she's doing that. And
Wow.
then my son, he graduates high school this year. It's
Wow.
like, why shouldn't I be proud? I have something to be proud
Mm,
of because I raised these kids getting their college education. My son leaves this summer to go to trade school, and I got 2 little ones. I got a 8-year-old and a 12-year-old. And
mm.
them right, but those girls right there, they keep me running.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll tell you, like, yeah, I'm a somebody. And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's incredible. And you've talking about your kids. What has fatherhood taught you about grace? Because I can see the passion that you have for your kids.
fatherhood to me, man, is everything because before then, like I was saying, like I mentioned earlier, I was
Yeah.
and when you're able to hold them in your arms, I'm like, I created this, not by myself because
Yeah.
I'm a guy, but look what I created. Look what God
Yeah.
gave me. And when just to hold them, you feel all the grace in the world because you know what? It's like I'm responsible for somebody now. And it's like it's no better feeling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
How do you talk to your children about faith and mistakes, especially when you said that the drunk driver, he made a mistake? How do you teach them about faith and mistakes, you and your wife?
I learned a saying from my uncle a while back, and it says, "Do as I say and not as I do."
Mm,
Like, just because I'm doing this doesn't mean it's right. But
yeah,
I'm gonna tell you something, it's gonna be the correct way. But just
yeah,
because I'm not doing it doesn't mean you don't do it.
yeah,
And with faith and forgiveness, I think it goes hand in hand because in the Bible, you know, it talks about forgiveness.
mm,
And we try to instill our kids like not everybody's a bad person. And yes, you do something wrong. Yeah, sometimes are punishments. But then
yeah,
again, if I go and do something stupid, who's to say I can't go apologize and they'll accept my apology?
yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it sounded
yeah.
better in my head.
It does make sense. Yeah, and I guess just talking to your kids about making mistakes as well, and just understanding that we all make mistakes and none of us are perfect, I think
Yeah,
is,
like yeah, you make mistakes and you grow from it. You learn from it. So when you come to that situation again, you're not going to make the same mistake because you already did this before. So if you make the same mistake again, obviously you're not doing something right. Well, obviously you're
yeah.
not paying attention.
Mm,
It goes with do as I say and not as I do. So right is right, wrong is wrong. So
yeah. Yeah, no, that's fascinating. So, if someone was listening today and they feel like they've let God down too many times and they've failed too many times for God to care about them, what advice would you give them? What would you want them to hear?
first and foremost, you're not but they have to understand nobody like we've been talking about this whole day. Nobody is perfect. Maybe you haven't found your calling yet. You
Yeah,
know, maybe you need to talk to somebody, but life's too precious to sit around and think you're disappointing them. Because, like I told you earlier, he left the 99 for that one. You know,
yeah.
he'll break down walls for you. He'll climb mountains for you. So if you ever think you're alone, you just need to look up, look above, go outside, just talk to him by yourself. Because you know what? I guarantee you, you're not a failure. You're not alone. Because he, my friend, he loves you.
That's beautiful. And what would you tell someone who thinks that God might be disappointed in them because they've probably been doing something deliberately? So, whether it's alcohol or drugs or whatever else that they're stuck in, that they keep going back to, and they feel that God's disappointed. So, what is the point of really going to a God? Because people have been disappointed in me, people have put labels on me. And now, probably, and I've put labels on myself as well. Obviously God is going to maybe put labels on me. So what would you tell someone who thinks that God's going to be disappointed in them?
Well, you know, he died for our sins. You know, he was nailed to the cross, and he looks up to God and he says, "Lord, please forgive them for they do not know." You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like I said earlier, nobody's perfect. Just because you think God's mad at you doesn't mean he really is. God
Yeah.
forgives everybody. But for someone who has a drinking problem or drug problem, there's always somebody with open ear to listen to you. There's always a church. There's somebody at a church that's always willing to help you. You're not alone in this fight. If you need a help and you need to lend an ear, hey, reach out to me. I talk to you, know what I mean, but
Yeah.
this too, my friend shall pass because you know what? The grass is greener on the other side.
That's beautiful. So just as you said you're happy for people to reach out to you, what's the best way that people can reach out to you? I'll put your link to your podcast in the bio when I put the episode up. But how else would you want people to reach out to you?
Yeah, they can get a hold of me on Spotify at Steven Mac Podcast, or they can get onto my YouTube channel at Steven Mac Podcast as well. Instagram, TikTok, if you want to. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, Spotify and YouTube are probably the best chances to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for sharing your story today. Your journey reminded me that faith is not about perfection, and we by no means are perfect. It's by continuing to move forward, even if we stumble, because we know that God is for us, and grace is found in moments when we realize that we still need it. So, thank you so much for being part of the conversation.
It was my pleasure. Hopefully, I didn't mess it up too bad for you.
Hey, thanks for listening. This has been Cece, and this is Savage Jesus. If something in this episode named what you've been carrying, don't rush past it. And if you want more of this, like, share, and follow Savage Jesus for the wrecked, the raw, and the rising.